So I wish I knew when I started this, right? So go up here and then fill in new project. Give that project the name template, right? I'm gonna click cancel because I already have one. Now I want some bins, so I always have a video folder, I always have an audio folder, and I always have an image folder, and I always have an image folder, and then within those folders I add a bin with the right mouse button, new bin, and I call this archive, right? I'm gonna do the same thing for the audio, so archive, and I'm gonna do the same thing for the image, right? New bin, archive. So this is basically the setup I have for every project, right? Now let's add in a timeline. So I'm gonna add in a timeline bin. And then within the timeline bin, I'm gonna create a new timeline. I'm gonna call this timeline 1. I'm gonna make sure I'm using the project settings, which if you want to know, you can find up here. So right now, let's change this to 25 frames per second. Click save, change, we can't undo that. Right mouse button, timeline, create new timeline, use project settings, create. So now we have our timeline. Now, why is this important, right? Because we are creating a template. So we can add a video track if we want to. We can also add in audio tracks. So add track, stereo. Then we've got another stereo track. Now let's say in your projects, you always have the first track being your A-roll or your talking head or whatever you want to call it. And then here you have the music, right? Now with clicking this, let's say you always up your level by 5 and you want to use voice isolation. I always use 75 because that gives the most natural sound. And for the audio, we know that we always set it to -35 regardless of the audio that we have. So whether or not it's a music track or whether or not it's an SFX, right? That means that if you now import a video into your video bin, so let's do that, import media, and I select that clip and I now drag and drop it onto my timeline. I see that I now have an audio track here, which has the following. It's got a volume of 5 and voice isolation of 75. So that means within this clip itself, I don't have to change the volume and the voice isolation because that's something that's already been done standard. Now, if I add in a music track here, right mouse button, import media, navigate to the folder where you have your music, just add it here and then drag it onto your timeline. You will now see that we've got a -35. So if I play this clip, so if I were to play this clip, you would hear this very low and then this a bit higher, right? Now, before you start working with this, it's very important to make sure you delete everything. So delete the video and let's delete the audio as well. So now we've got ourselves a blank template, right? One that we use all the time. So we go to File, Save Project As. Let's call this template in our case. Let's click save. And then every time you start a project, you go to the template one first, right? Which is empty. And then you go to File, Save Project As, give it your project name. So let's say this is the template tutorial video. Then you click save. You see that it's changing up here. And now I can work in this as a new project with my template still intact. And this saves you so much time